There we go. Click the right one this week. Good evening. Welcome to the 12th Man podcast, live, uninterrupted, because I'm not going to touch a thing. And yeah, we're going to talk 60 minutes of pure butter. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this. It's yeah, it's going to be a good laugh this, right? You've got me, C. Jackson, I'm in the main chair, as usual. Mr. John Cutler with me. Ian Cut.
Evening, Steve. Evening, listeners.
How are we doing? All right?
All good.
Good. Got Mr. Steve Dixon with us. Ian Diggle.
Hi. You all right?
Diggle, I can't hear a thing you're saying. Unmute yourself.
I don't think I'm muted.
No, you're fine, Vic.
Sorry, that was me.
Are you doing all right?
Yes, evening, everybody. Sorry about that.
Yes, that was him, not me. My hands are away. And I did put out a little not a spoiler, like a little teaser for a special guest. He's got a brand new book coming out.
Special guest, eh? Right.
I know. Mr. Anthony Vickers is with us. Borough legend, ex-Evening Gazette, novel writer. Because this, by the looks of it, this book could be a writing novel. I'm looking forward to reading it. Evening, Vic.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you very much for coming on. We'll get to your book a little bit later. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about Saturday first, because that was, wow. Unbelievable. Best day I've ever at Riverside in a long while. Very, very good. And then, yeah, we'll talk to Vic about his book. What made him come up with the book? What kind of games could we be looking forward to? It looks a cracker, to be fair. We had a little look at what we can expect, kind of thing, didn't we? And
There'll be plenty of memories in there, won't it?
oh, gotcha. Good and bad. So, yes, yeah, it's going to be a good one. So, yeah, bring it on. Right, should we get stuck into this? I'm looking forward to this. Everybody on Facebook and etc. and listeners, I put a little teaser out. Basically, when was the last time we scored a free kick? The answer is coming up very soon, because I've got the answer. We found that we did a bit of research, didn't we, before we
had to do some research.
It
seemed like forever since we scored a free kick.
I'll give you a hint. It's been 3.5 years. That's all I'm going to say. But yes, it's answers coming up very, very soon. So yes, get your thoughts in, get your comments in, and yeah, I'll read your funny ones out, because there's going to be some funny ones, isn't there?
The answer's funny, to be fair.
Yeah, the answer is really funny. But right, Diggle, 2:00. Team came out. Steve, what did you think? What unchanged? Were you expecting that?
Yes, I was. I was expecting it. If we've got a team that's in good form, Michael Carrick, he doesn't seem to change his team. He done that last season a lot as well. And he's doing the same this season, and it's fair enough, because it's proven to be a successful formula. Me personally, I said last week that I think it's time to give Anthony Dijksteel a run at right back. So that would have been my only change. And to be fair, I'm happy to sit here and eat humble pie, because I thought Michael Carrick was right to stick with Rav van den Berg, who I thought put in a superb performance on Saturday, along with the help of Isaiah Jones. I thought they were superb on the right-hand side, thwarting Leicester attacks time and time again. So Michael Carrick, for me, again, got it spot on, and it was the team I expected.
I think one thing about it, I think we mentioned, didn't we, when we played Stoke, that they had a lot of 2-on-1s, and the wide players lacked helping the full-backs a little bit. I think that changed quite big on Saturday, to be honest, and we obviously needed to against a team that hadn't dropped a point away from home.
Yeah, I mean, that was the big thing, wasn't it? When they came into the game at the Riverside, 7 out of 7 away from home. At the start of the season, 7 out of 7 on your travels. That's some goal, isn't it?
And then we only won 1 of 12 home games or something like that, something crazy against them.
Yeah,
and that was an own goal.
Yeah, we've got a really bad. Yeah, it was Frank Sinclair.
Belter.
There you go. Alf, good to have you on. What did you make of the team at 2:00? Obviously, we all said maybe unchanged, maybe maybe 1 or 2 changes, but it looks like Michael Carrick's got the core of his team there now of what he's got available, hasn't he?
It'd be interesting to see if he changed it, if he had the luxury of having his first choice players available, because obviously there's a lot of injuries. So, but he seems happy to go with that selection that he's got. you have to remember there's two teams on the pitch, and how they line up and how they set out depends on what he expects from the opposition. And to be honest, I thought it was a tactical masterclass from Carrick, the way he dealt with Leicester. I mean, as you said, 7 away this season, but I think if you go back to their promotion season under Nigel Pearson, I think that was they were looking for a 20th away win on the bounce, which is incredible, really. And they are a side packed with not just Premier League quality players, but internationals. So I thought Borough did a fantastic job. And a lot of the people who maybe 6 weeks ago looked fringy and people saying, well, they're not up to it at this level, that they've been growing week by week. So I think it's perfectly fair for the manager to go with them and say, you know, shows what you can do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's, I mean, you obviously look at their squad as well. That squad was ridiculous. The amount of quality players they had that was just way too good for this league. And then you looked at the bench as well and you thought, my God.
I know, I just think it's, when we picked our predictions last week, I think our squad, if we're on it, we're a tough game for anyone in the Championship. That includes Southampton, that we've already beaten up here. Leicester now we've beaten, so 2 of the relegated sides. At home, I fancy us against anyone, to be honest. I think we've got a lot of decent attacking talent. Sometimes at the back, I think we look a little bit open, but that's the way Carrick plays, and it's been exciting to watch. We've said it last season was the same. We were scoring goals for fun. We were conceding a fair few as well, but it's good to watch. The fans must be loving it, and obviously the attendances are showing that the fans are coming back and watching it again and again. So fair play to Michael Carrick.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, it was just literally just over 30,000 on Saturday, which is cracking effort for past payday, getting towards Christmas.
Yeah.
I know, fair play to Leicester, they brought 2,500, and they did make some noise at times on Saturday, they really did. Well, I've got to applaud them Borough fans on Saturday. They were so noisy, so up for it, and I think it's because we knew it was going to be a tough game as well. Like, we knew it was going to be a battle. Not physically. I don't think the physical battle was going to be. It was more tactical, and we had to be absolutely on point with everything we did. And it was just. I mean, I'll go further into it as we're going, but
I can't remember a time in Middlesbrough's history, for me, since I've supported the Borough, in the second tier where Middlesbrough's attendances has been so high. You know, I mean, we're only 10th in the league. I remember the year we got promoted with Brian Robson, with we had Emerson and Merson and a Premiership team, and went straight back up where the attendances were high. But that was a bit of a freak. To Middlesbrough this season, averaging over 27,000. We had 30,000 there on Saturday, and it's absolutely superb at the moment. There's a real good feel factor around the Riverside for the first time in a while, and I can't applaud the fans enough for the numbers that are turning up.
It's great, isn't it? It's great to see. I mean, it's a bit annoying when you're trying to get in because there's obviously a queue every time you're getting in now, which is a bit annoying. But it's not usually the old get there, walk in, and you're straight to the bar kind of thing. There's queues everywhere, but it's not because of the old digital season card that's going about now. But you know, it's genuine because fans are waiting to get in now. It's, you know, I mean, I got there. What time did I get there Saturday? I got there about 2:20 Saturday, and I had to queue to get in, which says everything. I mean, usually it's about 2:45, 10 to 3 that me and you were getting there, and there's obviously a queue because people are flying in from the bars and the pubs and wherever it may be they've been. But there's queues getting in, and it's not because everybody's getting searched. People are just down to get in there, go and get a bit of the atmosphere inside them, and get ready for a big afternoon of footy.
I think we've said it before. Let's be honest, we've seen some pretty poor football.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Karanka years, which we were winning games 1-0, it wasn't aesthetically pleasing on the eye. Where now we're watching this football, and it is pleasing on the eye. You know that we can score goals against anybody in this division. We've got players that have got bags of ability and twists and turns. Greenwood, you can look at Rodgers, has got a trick in him. Isaiah Jones is getting back to what we know he can do.
Yeah.
Crooks, he's doing well. You know, there's goals all over well, there's goals all over the midfield and the front three, to be honest. And it's good to watch. And like I said earlier, fans are obviously enjoying what they're watching. We're not in the top 3. We're not even in the top 6 yet. But to be getting 29, 30,000, it's some going by the fans. And like you say, it's coming up at Christmas. We're not the richest of areas. Fair play to each and every one of them that are turning up.
Exactly. I like the fact
We've had a good run of big away followings as well, which helps.
Yeah.
I mean, Birmingham don't normally bring that many, but obviously it was Wayne Rooney's debut, so that probably put an extra 1,000 on for them.
Yeah.
Stoke turned up in numbers. Southampton, who never normally travel in particularly big numbers, but because they've been in the Premier League habit. So that's made a massive difference because, you know, over recent years, sometimes there's been 200 away fans, and that makes a massive difference to the atmosphere. You know, it's the call and response, isn't it, and the banter, and that winds it up, which is excellent. The more the merrier.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't agree more with that. It's 2,500 Leicester brought, and they brought it. They were noisy. They were boisterous in the corner as well. So
I think anyone would be noisy if they'd won 19 away championship games in a row. Like.
I know.
Plus they have their clappers.
Well, yeah, God. Thank God. Oh.
Yeah, thank God for that. It's like Jason's pointed out there, first away defeat for them in the championship since 2013, which is I know them being in the championship, but
sorry, Steve. I was just going to say I don't know what Anthony thinks, but I actually thought Saturday was probably Michael Carrick's finest moment as a Middlesbrough manager, because when you take into consideration the team who are playing, which is a Premiership team, and you know the fact they haven't lost away from home, I just thought he got his tactics spot on. We're talking about Michael Carrick's fast-flowing football and entertaining and scoring goals, but on Saturday we kept a clean sheet against a top Premiership. It's a Premiership team, really, a clean sheet, and the fact that he tweaked his tactics in terms of he could have brought Dijksteel back in, but he kept faith of Van den Berg, who had a good game.
It was a really interesting tactical test, really, wasn't it? And it required skills that we haven't seen much from this Borough squad. And little things like the man marking jobs that they were doing. I mean, Fry took Ian Atcho out of the match. I mean, he was never more than 6 foot away from him, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he trotted down the tunnel and gone into their changes at half time. And then Johnny Howson was doing a similar job on
Dewsbury Hall,
the civic building in the Leicester midfield. And then they were stopping the wingers as well. That was a really interesting competition, because if you think about it, you know, Van den Berg's only a young lad. Engels very new to this division, and they were up against 2 really good quality wingers, and they did an incredible job on it. And that must be very hard work physically, but also the concentration levels that was required in doing that. I think Leicester had 65-70% of the ball, and Borough did so well out of possession. And that's not something we would normally come away from the match saying, because obviously the emphasis is always on getting it down quickly and patient passing up in their final third. So it was a very different test, a whole different set of skills. And I think coming through it, it's ticked a lot of boxes, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with everything you've said there. I just thought it was a totally unlike Middlesbrough Michael Carrick performance. Like you see, a man-to-man marking jobs, tackles getting rattled in by Van den Berg, Zaya Jones flying back and helping his partner out and lacing at the tackles. The crowd were up for it because I knew the players were giving the all. And as I say, to beat a team like that, to keep a clean sheet, I thought it was a fantastic performance by both the manager and the players.
I think it's worth saying as well, Josh Coburn was up against 2 international centre-backs, and he's like a raw, you know, he could have been away on loan this season. He's been thrown into the firing line and sort of come through some testing times. And on Saturday, he was just fantastic. You know, 2 very, very good centre-backs who were in the Premier League last year, and they came off and known that they'd been in a battle.
Yeah. He's becoming almost Paul Wilkinson-esque, isn't he? Where he just likes to tussle with the centre-halves and puts himself about, and he's not the quickest, but he's effective in what he does. He's all action and elbows and getting stuck in, and the centre-halves know they've been in a game when the whistle blows at the end.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've raved about him all season. He's just getting better and better. The young kids, and as I say, he was in against two top quality centre halves. I mean, the first point I'm going to pull out of the game, I want to talk about our number one. The save he made in the first half from Vestergaard's header, different level. I mean, Steve, obviously you've got more experience than us between the sticks. I mean, we obviously you're on the north stand as I am behind the goal where he made that save. That save, point blank, that's one of the best saves I've seen this season. It was that good.
I was right in front of it, and it was a fantastic header. Actually, if he had headed it down, it would have probably been unstoppable. But because it, had the height on it, it made it savable. But it's one of them ones where some people shout cameras for a goalkeeper because it looks great because he's took off. But that was a really, really top save. It was difficult. It was going right in the corner. He got pace on the header because there was pace on the cross. He moved his feet quickly, and it was a top save. It really was a brilliant save, and I agree with you. It was one of the best I've seen this season at the Riverside, and it was really important because whoever scored first on Saturday was sure to win that game. And Senny Dieng, both first half and second half, made big saves that kept Middlesbrough in it, and it proved vital.
I think it's worth mentioning. He's been outstanding, Dieng.
He's our best player for me.
I think he's been really good. He's so comfortable on the ball, a lot more comfortable than what Stefan ever was. I'm a lot more confident with him with the ball at his feet. It does worry me that we're going to lose him at the African Nations Cup because, as of yet, I'm yet to be convinced by Glover. Yeah, Jones hasn't had any games. I think he's going to be a huge, huge loss. And I think it was you, Dick, who mentioned the other day, you put up some kind of link where Stefan was saying he wanted to come back.
Yeah.
Do we get him on loan for it? Can you still get month loans these days in the Championship? You used to be able to get them years ago, but
getting into the season, it's just nothing.
It'd certainly be I think his wages would be pretty high for the rest of the season. But if he wasn't playing football anyway, I don't even know where he is now. For him to come in for a month or 6 weeks while Dieng's away, I'd certainly take it.
He's still at Man City and he's still on big wages, so a short-term loan might suit both parties because he's just come back from a major knee injury and he needs games to get himself back fit. So a short-term loan might fit both parties. But again, what does that say to Glover, who's come across from Australia, who's an international goalkeeper, who's been playing in the cup games? Yeah. I don't think it would make him particularly happy to be cast aside again when he gets his opportunity. So it's a difficult one, and I can see where you're coming from, but I'm not sure that'll happen. But the concern-wise, yeah, because he's so good with his feet, Senny Dieng, as was Stefan. Mind, I have to say, I slightly disagree with you. I think Stefan was fantastic with his feet as well. It'll be a big loss to how we play, and it's whether Glover can adapt quickly to the Championship level.
I think Senny Dieng's different level with his feet. Like, I still, as a Borough fan does, you get the bit of panic, don't you, when a striker's closing down the keeper. You get flashbacks of, Mejia's trying to do it and Valdez messing up at times, and them sort of thing. What does he breathe on? What goes through his veins? It must be pure ice, because he just looks at two strikers running and goes, "Well, yeah, there's House. I'll just play that ball there. That's all right."
The difference is this season with Dieng, though, he has got an out ball, which is Josh Coburn. I don't think Zach Stefan had that when we had Archer up front. So sometimes now, which is a good option for it, because he's great with his feet, but you see a lot more long balls this season from Dieng than you ever did from Stefan. And I think the reason is because you've got Josh Coburn up there. He's capable of trying to ping it into his chest to hold the ball up and get Middlesbrough back on the attack. So it's probably enhanced with that way.
Yeah, I'd say he has got a bit more of an out ball there. He's just fantastic. I love him, mate. And you were saying about Glover as well. I think the Asia Cup's January as well, so that means Australia will be taking him. So we're left with one keeper, which could be a bit of a what do we do next kind of thing. Do we bring Sol Bryn back? He's having a really good time at Orient as well. Really good.
I'm not sure.
I wouldn't want to.
I'm not sure you'd bring him back.
I'd rather leave him there because he's doing really well at the moment.
I don't think Glover's been called up this time, though, is he, to Australia? I don't think he got called up. Silvera has, but I don't think Glover has. So I don't know if he's on the fringes of the Australian squad and having a look at him. and it might be beneficial for all parties for Glover to stay at Middlesbrough and play games. So that might be in the offering as well, I think.
Might just take one big cup performance in December to get him over the line. You know, Port Vale's coming. Just saying. Yeah, it's a conversation to be had, isn't it, in the coming weeks? I think as January comes to us, you know, let's get Christmas out of the way first, kind of thing. But yeah, right. We've done all the messing about now. I want to talk about this goal. I want to talk about it, right? Do either of you, Steve, do either of you know the last time we scored a free kick?
Not off the top of my head.
Steve?
I do, but only because I've seen it on the internet. So
well, that's where we found it. But I mean, Jason's put Zemama against Southampton. That's not funny.
I tell you, that's a good shout though, because the goal you're going to mention, that was during COVID. So the last goal we've probably seen Middlesbrough score in a stadium, it'll have been way back before that, probably. Might be rocking back or something, or Zemama, like you say.
I think it was. I think it was Leicester against Sheffield Wednesday when I had a little think back in the FA Cup. So there you go. I know Jason's just put Leicester against Huddersfield. No, we scored free kicks after that, kid. Don't worry. But it was British on Bologna against Cardiff, 18th of July 2020. We were all sat at home, loading up whatever we were to watch it, and we were 3-0 down at the time, and he scored a consolation.
To be fair, we watched it about 10 times, didn't we?
And we were trying to guess what team's that.
We were trying to guess who it was who scored it, because we never guessed it was Brit.
No,
that's what £15 million gets you, though, doesn't it? You know, free kick specialist like Brit.
Which comes into our conversation for next week, so we're talking about worst borough teams of all time. So yes, that's going to be a fun conversation. Will he drop in? I don't know. Money wise, he's in the conversation, but right, goal wise, Sam Greenwood steps up. Did anybody else expect that to happen? Like, I mean, I was looking at my phone thinking, who's this ref? Because I was too busy kicking off that he pulled it up. I thought, we were 4-on-3 in the box here. What are you doing? What are you doing? But
he could have picked that ball up and put it in with his hands, and it wouldn't have went in better than it actually did. And with that pace and power, it was absolutely outstanding. As good a free kick as you will see this season. I don't care what else gets scored. That's as good a free kick as you will see all season.
That's as good a goal I've seen at the Riverside in years.
Absolute worldie.
Absolute worldie. I mean, Steve, you were in the North Stand with me. That stand went absolutely acca. I mean, there was people all over the shop. I mean,
it was brilliant, wasn't it?
I've come out with injuries. I've got a bad left eye now. I've got a right cracking bruise on it because someone's whacked me. But it's the things you do when you follow this club. You end up with bruises everywhere. But oh my God, what a goal! What a goal!
Yeah. Even my old man who's 79 and got a dodgy foot was jumping around. It was fantastic because we're both just berating Bonnie Langford for his terrible decision of not playing the advantage when Engel got the ball wide and he suddenly blew his whistle and pulled it back to the free kick. So everybody was fuming about that. But then it proved to be the telling point in the game because it actually helped with. I mean, what a free kick. It was reminiscent of Rockenbach in a way. Slightly different, but similar distance. But the way it arced in and it just clipped the post on its way in, it was fantastic. It was a great moment. And like you say, the stadium, a little bit like it did when Josh Coburn scored against Spurs. It just, every now and again, you get their moments, don't you, where the stadium just explodes and it's just a fantastic moment that you remember for years and years to come. Brilliant.
I hope my old man's watching this. He's a Spurs fan. And that moment Coburn score was absolutely magic. Absolutely magic. And I remind him most days about that. Absolutely incredible. But that goal, obviously, you covered watching Borough for many years. That's up there with one of the best goals I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
It was pinpoint.
Given the timing of it as well in the match, it reminded me of Mallory Martin.
Oh, Bristol City. Me and Josh said that, actually.
Just whacked it straight in. And I mean, you say no one expected it, but actually Dom Shaw sat next to me and he called it. Greenwood had missed one sort of 5 minutes before that, hadn't he?
Yeah.
and he said, he was just getting his eye in. The next one's going in, and it just absolutely sizzled it. It was fantastic. We were very unprofessional in the press box.
I wish there was a camera up there. But that's what it's about, though, isn't it? I mean, funny enough, Josh said that to me. He stands behind me, he went, that reminded me of Murray Martin, that pinning it in top corner against Bristol City last minute. David James doing his best impression of Floppy Bird, trying to save it. But I mean, I couldn't tell you the name of the keeper for Leicester. I couldn't, because I haven't watched much of Leicester at the back. It's always Leicester going forwards, the likes of Mavididi, Fatawu, Jimmy Vardy, I suppose, Ian Atchell. They're the players that have shined this season for Leicester. But that keeper, you could have put 2 of him, maybe even 3 of him.
He's a good keeper, actually. Madsen, I think he's called, and he's a good goalkeeper, and he's had a good season for Leicester. He's very, very good. He took over from Danny Ward. He took over from Danny Ward, the Welsh keeper, who's had a nightmare for Leicester in the Premier League, and he was on the bench. And the Leicester fans rate the goalkeeper very highly, but they could have put Peter Shilton, Gordon Banks from Leicester in goal, and they wouldn't have been saving that. It was that good.
It really was. I couldn't believe what I'd seen, and I won't lie. I've watched the free kick about 100 times since. Absolute worldly of a goal. Like, it doesn't happen. That doesn't happen to Borough players. It's not something Borough players do. You know what I mean? It's usually Kane's off your backside and goes in the bottom corner and win 1-0 kind of thing. Not score a scream and win 1-0. That doesn't happen.
Some of the fans must have been expecting it, because there was about 50 different angles where people had got the phones out.
Oh, I know.
That would have been the last thing I was doing, get my phone. I was thinking he's going to smash one in from there. But obviously, they'd either had too much to drink or they were very confident he was going to belt it in.
I think that's probably what made it better, because the amount of angles you've seen it from now. Like, I think the best one I've seen it from, I think there's a Leicester fans, one of these vloggers kind of people, and records all the games and gives his little bits and bobs through the game. He recorded, and the noise from the Riverside, different level. I haven't heard the noise like that in a while.
Yeah.
It just erupted. Like, the roof literally came off the place.
I'll tell you one thing it's going to do as well. It's a bit of a shame that there's an international break now, because the confidence in that changing room now, after that win against the team, let's be honest, I think we'll probably all say that we think they're going to win the league.
Oh, yeah.
But the confidence running through that team now, it should be sky high.
Oh, yeah, they'll win the league. I said that at the beginning of the season, they'll win the league, and they're flying. I know Ipswich are, pipping him, going toe-to-toe with them, but with the greatest respect, I expect Ipswich to have a bit of a wobble that'll take them probably down to the playoffs, because they are a good team, Ipswich, which we'll find out in a few weeks and they'll come up to us. But Leicester are a different level, and it's probably in the conversation of one of the best championship squads ever. They're that good. You know what I mean? They are that good. I mean, how many points they've got? Is it 13?
39.
39 points out of how many games we played?
16, isn't it? 16.
Yeah.
So 39 out of 48.
You know what I mean?
Not bad.
They've managed to keep most of their squad together, which is quite unusual for a relegated side.
Yeah.
The Leeds obviously have lost a couple, and the Southampton lost their best 2 players. So, but Leicester have pretty much managed to keep it all together. And you know that if they have any weak spots, that they'll spend in January.
Yeah, because they've got the money from obviously the Harvey Barnes sale and the James Maddison sale, haven't they? So yeah, they've got money ready just in case they need it. And I'd probably say at the moment they don't, because they were good Saturday. They were really good. There were a couple, but it's just we were that disciplined and organised. Amazing win. And I've got to say, a win that we predicted. There's a couple of us last week said 1-0 Borough. We just didn't quite get the scorer. We all said, I think I said Crooks. I think someone said,
I had Fry, didn't I?
Yeah, you're a Fry. I think someone had Coburn as well. All we were missing was Sam Greenwood. So we were close again, but we will get there again. Don't worry. But yeah, amazing win, amazing victory, and put us 2 points behind the team up the road, who are in 6th at the moment. 2 points behind them. Which, to be fair, a month ago, when we came out the last international break, we'd have took that, wouldn't we? Because we were just starting to hit a little bit of form, but not a massive amount of form. So, yeah, I'd have took that.
I think considering the start we had, would have all been pretty happy to be where we are now at this time of the year in this break.
No wins in 7. And
Exactly.
We're 10th, 2 points off the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Don't do me nicely. Get us into it's like Wayne Rooney said after obviously they got beat again. Again, by the way, they've had a shocker under him. After this international break, we've got 4 months, haven't we? 4 months of pure football until Easter.
I think the tough thing is, I think you'd be hard pressed to think that any of them top 4 will not make the playoffs. So then are we battling for 2 spots? I mean, I think Leicester, Ipswich, Leeds and Southampton, I think I'd be surprised if they're not in the top 4 now.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much battling for one of the last 2 spots.
And there's a big queue that we're part of for them last 2 spots.
The gap between about 10, 12 teams is next to now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's 4 points between 11 teams or something. It's
crazy.
Yeah.
There'll be a few twists and turns yet. I think it's too early to say that.
Oh, yeah.
And also there's always a team that comes on a run from nowhere. It was us last season. It was Forest the season before. And it'll be a test to see how ambitious Steve Gibson's going to be again in January, because last January when we brought in Archer and Ramsey, they transformed Middlesbrough. So it'll be interesting to see if we can do similar business this time, because if we do, we could be that team again.
Exactly, and why not? Why not? Instead of being that team, I'd rather just be consistent, gain them 2 points a game average from now to the end of the season, and see where we end up. And if we end up in the top 6, bring on the playoffs again. It may hurt again. We don't know, but bring it on.
I know it's over a month away yet, but Dicko's made a good point there. The where we are at the start of that window will probably dictate to how ambitious we're going to be. I mean, we know Steve has always done the best he can for this football club and always give us the best possible opportunity. But there's no point throwing money at it if we're not going to make the top 6. So it's where we are at the start of January that will dictate how much we actually push. And
that win on Saturday probably started that conversation as well, because the planning doesn't start, Boxing Day, does it? It's not.
No, it'll be all done. It'll be all done, won't it? They'll have dossiers on players left, right, and centre.
So this will probably give the scouting team a kick to go to them and say, right, how much have we got to play with now? Because look, this is where we could be. We've got so much potential to jump this league. Why don't we have a go? Because there's players in the Premier League that are not playing and they're not getting regular time that will drop down. We'll take that leap. So
yeah, but they're all on 50 grand. So
yeah,
it all comes down to the numbers.
Yeah, that's the only down point. There you go. There's your down.
I still think Ipswich will have a wobble. They're flying in the crest of a wave. Come up last season, it's continued this season. They're doing very, very well.
What we have to remember is it's the Championship. It's the craziest league in Europe, and there's no given. The teams at the top. If you have a wobble, even just like 3 draws, everything changes really quickly. I mean, look what we did in 8 days.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that happens to every team. And if you hit your wobble at just the wrong time, then you go into 2 or 3 fixtures against your near rivals, and then you look at the table again, and everything's changed. It's an absolutely mental division. So all you can do is concentrate on your fixtures, keep on racking up the points, and not get too carried away about what's happening around you.
Exactly. I mean, it says it all when the playoff finalists are 5th bottom, 3 wins all season.
I think we've got the perfect manager for that as well, because that's his mentality. Yeah. It's always just the next game, the next game, the next game, and he doesn't get too high and he doesn't get too low, Carrick. I'm sure he's, different, in the dressing room and stuff, but he has a calmness about him, which I like, and he's been there, seen it and done it. So I think that side of it, Middlesbrough in a really strong position.
Exactly. And Jason makes a very good point there. Every team we played in the top 6 so far, we've beat. There you go. Which I'm looking at now is Leicester, Southampton, Sunderland. Because the other 3 we played in November.
Weren't Birmingham in the top 6? We beat them.
And
Yeah.
there you go. There's another one. Birmingham.
Good shout.
Very, very good shout. So, right, let's get on man of the matches. Anthony, I'll start with you. Who was your man of the match from in the posh seats on Saturday?
I think there's a strong case for Dale Fry doing a different job, difficult circumstances against a very experienced player, and I don't think Ian actually got away from him all afternoon. At one point, I think they switched him around tactically to get him away from Fry, and he was passed on for a while. But then, as soon as he came back forward, Fry grabbed him again. I think it was a really good display in something. It's not a glamour job, is it, doing the man marking? But he did it really, really well.
Yeah, the discipline it takes to do that is something else. I mean, I know this is a massively overstated example. I remember Champions League final 2011, Partey's son tried that with Messi. Let him slip for 2 seconds, and that was that. Gone, goal, done. And it was that was it. And I know that's a million miles away from the quality we're talking about from Saturday. But that could have happened. It did happen Saturday because Ian Nacho got in, he got his one chance, he hit the post. So, that's the margins you're working with, and apart from that, he was faultless, perfect. Who was your spot?
Yeah, well, I missed the game. I was laid up in bed with a migraine. But from what I've seen, goals win games. Greenwood's man of the match. That was an absolute sublime bit of skill.
Fair shout, isn't
So, solely for the goal for me.
Yeah. Steve, your man of the match?
Well, there was big shouts for Vandenberg for me, who was outstanding, and obviously Senny Dieng with his 2 big saves. But I agree with Anthony. I think Dale Fry, who I give it to last week, funny enough, down at Plymouth, because I thought he was aerially superb under the cosh in the rain, in the bad conditions down there. I thought he was man of the match again. I thought he's a bit, sometimes when he struggles bringing the ball out of play, I thought he was good. I thought his passing was good. And he kept Iniacho really quiet. And he frustrates me, Dale Fry, because I'm a massive fan of Dale's, and we've discussed it on here. And he goes from being a Premier League player to an average Championship player in a matter of months. And it frustrates me with him. And I think that's probably the reason that he's not playing in the Premier League now, because a lot of teams have had a look at him. And he's got some outstanding qualities. And if he could just put a run of quality performances together, I'm sure if he's not with Middlesbrough, he'll end up in the Premier League, because he's got some big qualities. And I know John Cutler, of late, you haven't been a fan of his and said so on the show, but I think the last few games, he's been playing outstanding again. So long may it continue.
Well, this is my biggest bugbear about him. We all know the qualities he's got, but then he has massive spells where he doesn't show anywhere near what we know he's capable of. So he's not a kid anymore. He's played over 200 games for this football club.
Mental liner.
But there's obviously a reason why he's played 200 games. Everyone seems to rate him, and I hope he just keeps performing the way he's performing right now, because if he does, it's only good for this football club. So now it will make me happier than that.
Oh, and me. Man of the match. 3 words describe the man. Captain, leader, legend, Johnny Howson. Absolutely ran that midfield Saturday. Harry Winks and Dewsbury all didn't get a touch. And when they did, he was on them. And if he weren't on them, he full on regimented that Hayden Hadley was on them.
Johnny, he's a class act, Johnny.
Superb. It's like Benjamin Button. Gets better with age. Absolutely gets better with age. It's ridiculous. But I always expect that he'll start slowing down now. Unbelievable.
I'll tell you what, with Johnny, you look at some of the players we've had in the past, like that we've got involved in the coaching setup. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if Gibbo tries to keep him involved, because he must be a dream to work with Howson. I bet the players absolutely love him. He's not a shouter. He leads by example. He's a consummate pro. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if when he retires, we try and keep him at some capacity at this club.
Well, Carrick says, doesn't he, that he loves payment now, apparently. But apart from that, he's the ultimate professional.
Yeah.
Turns up for work, does his job, goes home, and that's all you can ask for from the guy. And he's, like you said, he leads by example. And yeah, on the pitch on Saturday, he was an absolute Rolls Royce of a midfielder. Perfect performance. Kept 2 top quality performers in his back pocket. Wouldn't surprise me if if the kit lady was doing a washing Saturday night, put all the kits in, and Timmy Fields popped out his pocket and went, "Where's that come from?" So maybe back on the way to the East Midlands, amazing performance. And if it wasn't for him, it would be Dale Fry for me because I thought he was superb. But yeah, Johnny Howson was brilliant. Right, we've got 20 minutes. Should we talk about your book, Amph?
Sounds like a good idea to me.
The title, The Games That Shaped the Borough.
Yeah.
It's such a good title simply because we've all got a game that shaped our love for the borough. All of us, whether it be a great memory or an absolutely horrible heartbreak.
There's a few of those in there. Yeah, definitely a few of those in there. It's a history of the club, but told through the sliding doors moments, the moments when the tectonic plates of history moved. So a lot of those are obviously firsts, like the very first game, the first game as a professional team, the first game in the Football League. They're all milestone matches, but it's also the moments when you could feel it was the end of an era or the start of something. So like for people of my age, for instance, the Wolves game in 1981, the FA Cup defeat, people came away from that game knowing that team was going to be broken up and sold and that the club were in trouble. And, lo and behold, 3 or 4 years later, you're down to crowds of 5,000. The chairman sold off all the players. The toxic debt around the sports complex dragged the club into liquidation. And there's been other moments when, one of the matches I cover is the first match under Brian Robson, the Burnley game, because you could feel it was a new club. He'd arrived in May when Middlesbrough were a mundane, middle-ranking, second-tier club, marking time. And then by the time the first match of the season came, the Burnley game, it was a new club. A new kit sponsor, new players. They'd broken the £1 million barrier. They had a PR department. We'd got a mascot. We'd got a maverick Italian kit manufacturer on board. The plans for the new stadium. It was unbelievable. The club was on fast forward, and that game when Brian Robson ran out as captain for the first time, I think everyone there in the crowd knew that this was the start of something special. So it's those kind of moments that I've picked out. There's some which are kind of obvious, the Hartlepool game in 1986. That's the most important game Borough have ever played. If they hadn't made that game, that was it, the game over for the club. And they came within 10 minutes the previous day of the deadline that the Football League had set. So I tell the stories of the era around the game. So the game, it's not centered on a match itself, but it drags all the threads of history in. How did we get to this situation, and what did it lead on to? So you've got the Hartlepool game, the Battle of Stamford Bridge, because that was the end of the fairy tale under Bruce Rioch. That was it. That was mission accomplished at Stamford Bridge. And then obviously the Carling Cup final. There's a match that I think sums up the Southgate relegation period. There's the Karanka promotion against Brighton, which is the most tense game anyone in recorded history has ever experienced. Then there's games that have shaped legends. So I've got matches that focus on Campsall, on Wilf Mannion, and on Brian Clough. But it's not just about the players; it's the stories they tell. That the Campsall one is fascinating because obviously we all know he got 59 goals that season, plus 4 more in the FA Cup. But the story around it is really interesting because for a brief spell, Borough were tactical revolutionaries. They were the first team that came up with a system to exploit the change in the offside law. That season, the FA had changed the offside law from 3 defenders behind the ball to 2, and defences took a couple of years to get to grips with this because that had been the norm for sort of 40 years. And Campsall had a specific skill set, which was, the first 3 yards he was absolutely amazing. He had a 3-yard sprint that burnt off the old cumbersome centre backs in their huge diving boots who couldn't turn. And Borough devised this system of just slotting the ball behind the last centre back, and Campbell would be off. He'd run these 5 yards and whack it. And well, obviously, you've got to have the accuracy, you've got to have the power, you've got to have the ability to do all that. It's no coincidence that in the years immediately following that, practically every club in the country record scorer scored in those 2 seasons. So obviously we know that Dixie Dean the next season got 60, but you've also got Hughie Gallagher at Newcastle, Charlie Buchan at Arsenal, all getting 50 plus goals in the next 2 seasons. And then defence is kind of caught up with it, and they found a way of nullifying that, and gradually football returned to normal. But for a brief spell, that year, the Campbell year, Borough were ahead of the game tactically. So that's why I focused on that one. And then you've got Wilf Mannion. We all know about the Mannion match. It's part of our folklore, you know. It's inbred into our DNA of balancing the ball on his head and doing a curl on seal, and the opposition players clapped him off the pitch. I mean, that's how good a game it was. And we know the mythology about it, how he was doing it to show off to his fiancée who was in the crowd. At that point, Wilf Mannion was universally regarded as the best player in the world. You know, the likes of Stan Matthews and Tom Finney would tell you that you know, Wilf Mannion, he was the Mozart of football, best player in the world. And 6 months later, he's on the dole selling chicken coops in Oldham because he was on strike. He was on strike. He became the leader of a slow motion revolt by leading players who wanted their share of the gate money, basically. The maximum wage meant that players couldn't earn the money that they were bringing through the gate. There was no point in them moving. The clubs could stop them moving if the club could retain your registration and stop you moving to another job. So Wilf basically said sod it, and he went on strike, and he was on strike for the best part of 6 months. So that match and the status that he had, and then suddenly to be on the front line of this massive industrial relations dispute is really interesting. The Clough match, Charlton 6, Borough 6, and we all know what happened on the train back home, where he accused the defence of throwing matches. And lo and behold, 3 or 4 years later, when the betting scandal breaks, 2 of the Borough players that he suspected were actually went to jail as part of a national betting scam. So the games all bring in all kinds of subplots, the dynamics. They explain how those situations evolved and what happened next. Loads of research I've been through. I've read so many old gazettes. It's unbelievable. I've been through all the match cuttings. I've been through club minutes, contemporary reports. So there's lots of research, some brilliant quotes, some great stories, and it tells the story in an episodic way. But I think I've pretty much covered every era and most of the big moments that, you know, we can reel off as fans. You know, you learn it on the playground what the big moments in history are, but I've kind of gone behind the scenes in them and told the story from the inside. So I mean, I think I'm really chuffed with the way it's come out, and I think everybody will, even the anoraks, I think, will read it and find out something they didn't know. And because of the way I work, it's also, I think, a really interesting social and cultural history that tells the story about how fans relate to the club. So I'm sure it'll all be on your Christmas lists.
Oh, absolutely. As I say, it's just a title that's drawn me straight in, because there's so many games. You know, everybody from different generations can pick.
Yeah. Well, what it is, it's not a greatest hits compilation of big Borough wins. So don't be expecting Borough 8, Sheffield Wednesday 0, because although that might be a great game and it's like one of the usual suspects in terms of memory matches. It didn't actually make any difference to the season. Borough had been promoted 6 weeks before that. So it's not games like that. It's games where the tides of history turn. So, I mean, there's a Jack Charlton match, but it's not that one. The Jack Charlton match I selected is the following season when Borough were within 3 points of the top with 5 games to go. And they let in a late equaliser against Derby. Derby went on to win the title.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, Borough beat Liverpool, who had been second. And they were that close to actually being genuine. Well, they were genuine title contenders.
And who was in charge of Derby then that year?
It was Clough had left. That had the revolt. Was it Don Mackay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Oh, I know my history, mate. I know my history. But yeah, that's what I'm going to enjoy most about this book. It's like, what just Ambrose just said there. It's not about the big games where you can say, oh yeah, I was there when we beat Man City 8-1, or we did that. It's the defining games.
Yeah.
Because when I think Man City, I think 1-1 at Eastlands. That last game before, to get us back into the UEFA Cup, finish 7th. Because that kicked us on to, for me, the greatest season in this club's history. I know obviously we didn't win a trophy at the end of it, which was so heartbreaking.
Well, I've pinned that era around Eindhoven. I don't think you can't.
Yeah.
Not just because it was a great occasion, but I think that was the high watermark. And after that, whoever followed, I mean, I feel sorry for Gareth Southgate in some ways, because coming in after you've played in the UEFA Cup final with a team that was being broken up, that had won the Carling Cup a couple of years beforehand, whoever followed McLaren was on a hiding to nothing. So that was like a high watermark. But I've drawn in all the things like, obviously you mentioned Stoya, although interestingly, I don't think Stoya was the key match in that run. That week, Borough won the wrong semi-final. If they'd beaten West Ham, they'd have gone to Wembley, the FA Cup final, great day out, another crack at that. But they were guaranteed a UEFA Cup slot because Liverpool were already in the Champions League. So if they'd have won that semi-final and lost to Stoya, it would have been no disgrace losing in the UEFA Cup semi-final and going to Wembley and being in Europe again. So that couple of weeks was incredible, really. And all the time,
remember Chris Riggett's late miss at West Ham. In the last couple of
so
minutes, Chris Riggett.
So many sliding doors moments.
Yeah.
And that season obviously generated so many memories, but also it was a fundamental turning point, because after that, the finances of the club changed. We had to completely rebuild the team from scratch, having lost 4 or 5 key players, including Southgate, who was an absolutely massive player. So that's in there, obviously. What else?
What about the Cardiff game? Is that going to mention?
Well, I nearly did. When I did the relegation, the slide towards relegation, I almost went with the Cardiff game, but I think there's too much distance between that match and the relegation. Although I mention it as being that was the moment when the fractures in the team became absolutely apparent. And then obviously you've got the Man City game a couple of months later, which is one of the best pieces of papering over the cracks ever. I mean, people came away from that saying, "Oh, we're going to be great next year." I'm thinking, "Oh no." But that was the nature of that team. It was so erratic. It was fragile in so many places, and the Arsenal light brand that we had under Southgate didn't include the really feisty will to win and the likes of Patrick Vieira digging in. Borough didn't have that. There was a soft centre to that team. The relegation, the match I sort of centred that on was the game where we went to Mogger's West Brom and got turned over 3-0. And that was really worrying. They were bottom and they were in danger of being tailed off. And they just roughed Borough up. And I just thought, whoa. And the klaxons were going off. And Southgate came out after that game and he was white. He was absolutely ashen. and he was stumbling over his words, struggling to formulate sentences. And me and Eric just looked at each other, and Eric went, "Oh, he's gone." And we genuinely thought that on the Monday we'd come in and there'd be an announcement. Either he'd gone or that Gibbo had put him out of his misery. But that was the moment, I think, where relegation was not guaranteed, but became the ever more obvious conclusion to this season.
So, where's this book available from, Vic? And
It's
what's the
available
price
from the
at,
club
please?
shop. It's available from the club shop or MFC online, and it should be in the shop tomorrow.
And
Brilliant.
will you be doing a signing session at some point? I know you did with your last book.
Yeah, I'll be doing signing sessions for all of the home games between now and Christmas. And there's also a pop-up club shop in the Cleveland Centre. So I'll be there getting all the nanas and aunties as they walk past to solve their Christmas present problems for our Steve.
So you'll be in the Cleveland Centre and Bernie will be in the Hill Street.
I know.
There's a battle.
Put them up, Stephen.
I know. The battle of the centres, who wins?
This is one of the rare years Bernie hasn't got anything going on, isn't it? So far.
I know.
Well, he's still got lots of his old merchandise. He'll be there.
Yeah, he'll still have his 2 tables up.
He must have something going on because he won't come on here.
I know. We're trying to get him up for it. But,
I mean, he's got his own. He's got more platforms than King's Cross, hasn't he?
You're always welcome on, Bernie, always. But yeah, so there you go. If you don't know what to ask your mum and dad for Christmas, get Anthony's brand new book in the shops tomorrow.
15 quid, absolute bargain.
There you go.
I think it'll be a really good. It's a good history of the club, told in an interesting way. So it's not like this happened, then that happened, then that happened. Because when you read those kind of books, you fall asleep and you lose interest when it's done chronologically. Each one's a different approach, and especially the early chapters. I think you'll really learn a lot about the club and about the social history of football.
There you go. That's it. That's so much more, can you really?
Look forward to reading it.
I'm looking forward to reading it. I'll be getting.
Well, I'm desperate for it to arrive in the club shop.
I know. I saw your tweets today.
It was initially supposed to be there on Friday, so we were going to try and get it out in time for the Leicester game.
Bit of a late birth, this one.
There's been a binding issue. So
there you go.
Club shop tomorrow.
There you go. Club shop tomorrow. So get yourself in there. Get yourself a copy. It'll be at the next home game, which is Preston. Yeah. Am I saying Preston? Is that right?
Yeah.
Preston, yeah.
There you go. He'll be there for the Preston game. I hope I'm there and I remember which game it actually is. And go and get a copy, go get it signed. There you go.
Ideal for the stocking filler for Christmas.
Oh, absolutely. That's straight in my stocking. I love stuff like that. I love the geeky side of football and learning all the bits. That's the history, but why did it happen?
Yeah.
And then the little bits before that made it happen. That's my kind of thing. So yeah, if that's your kind of thing, then there you go. This is the book for you. So there you go. That's us done for the week.
Yeah, great advert. Thanks, lads.
You're very welcome. I'll be in the coming weeks to get me book. But yes, next week we're going to talk worst Borough 11s. This could be fun.
An hour. I think we need more than an hour.
Oh, I need an hour on Rudy Gestead. That's all I'm saying. Right, that's all I'm saying. It's going to be a good chat. It's going to be fun. It's going to be so get your teams in, get your thoughts in, and well, gentlemen, thank you very much for all popping on. And thank you very much. Good luck with the book. I've got absolutely no doubts it'll be an absolute success, just like the last one was, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Good luck with that. I'll no doubt see you in the club shop at some point to sign my copy. And to the listeners, buy his book, keep listening, and up the Borough. Be seeing you. Talk to you again next week.
Up the Borough.
Up the Borough.
Up the Borough.
Cheers, lads.
Next week.
Are we done?
Up the Borough.